Hi, everybody. Gene here. Welcome to the Tapping Q&A podcast, where every single week we answer the most common and uncommon questions about tapping and EFT so you can get the most out of your tapping practice, eliminate self-sabotage, and take the actions that you want. Today's podcast, we're going to spend some time talking about and tapping on when we feel bad about being proud of the things that we are doing. And if you're here for that, you can jump ahead. I need to spend a few moments just to share something a little personal and something that's important to me. I was at a podcasting conference a couple of weeks ago, and one of the things one of the presenters said is, every episode is someone's first episode. And for those of you who are joining me for the very first time, thank you very much. I really appreciate the fact that you're taking a few minutes to consider tapping along with me. Some of you have been around a little longer than that. March 3rd, which was yesterday, in regards to when this podcast was published, is the 11th anniversary of the Tapping Q&A podcast. A little more than 11 years ago, I'd already been playing with the idea of podcasts and thought how much fun it would be to create a podcast around tapping just to help people. It would be an opportunity for me to interview some people who I thought were really bright and intelligent around tapping and change work. And I really had no idea what I was doing. I spent some time researching on the internet, and back then there was very little information about podcasting. I bought a $19 microphone, spent another $8 on a little connector so I could hook that microphone to my computer. At the time, I had a landline that I had to buy a special device to hook to my phone to connect it to my computer so I could record those early interviews. 11 years later, there's been over 460 episodes. There's been over 200 hours of content. Episodes, millions and millions of episodes have been downloaded by people all over the world in over 150 countries. And it's really amazing to think that all of this has happened. And I am so appreciative to those of you who have listened over the years, who have sent feedback, who have sent appreciation, who have helped me make the show better. A very special thanks to all of those who've chosen to financially support the podcast. You could be getting this absolutely free. And more than likely, I would keep doing it even if it wasn't something that was basically a break-even proposition for me, because I enjoy it so much. But for those of you who've gone out of your way to take something that you could be receiving for free and just giving a few dollars every single month to help the production of this and to help me to create time and space to really make this a quality endeavor, it means a lot to me. If you want to celebrate with me and just be able to revel in the fact that we've gotten this far, the single most valuable thing that you could do is recommend the podcast to a friend. And you might have people in your life who don't know how to do a podcast. Show them how to listen to it on a website, take their phone from them, download one of the free podcasting apps, subscribe to the show, show them how to do it. Currently, only about a third of the English-speaking population in the world listens to a podcast on any sort of regular basis. So that means most of the people in your life probably don't know how to do it, even if they've heard the word podcast. David Rees, who is a creator who I adore, has often said that help is only help when it is offered in the way that it is asked. And so if you would like to help us in this endeavor, find someone in your life. Don't, like I always say at the end of the show, don't spam your inbox. Don't send it to every single person in the world. But if there's someone you know who could appreciate the podcast, please pass it along. It would really mean the world to me. Once again, thank you very much. This is Gene Monterestelli. Welcome to the Tapping Q&A podcast, recorded live to tape from Williamsburg in Brooklyn. This is episode 436, originally aired March 4th, 2020. Hi, everyone. I hope this finds you well wherever you are and whatever time of day you're getting a chance to listen to this. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Today, we're going to talk about pride. And instead of trying to talk you into not being prideful or trying to tap our way away from pride, instead, we're going to do something a little different. We're actually going to tap on being able to be proud of something and knowing that that is a appropriate and an emotionally safe place to be. Before we do that, as a reminder, we have a free 10-part guide to help you to eliminate self-sabotage using tapping. All you need to do is go to tappingqa.com, click on the big blue button there. If you happen to be listening to this right now in the website, in the upper right-hand corner, you can see that there is a blue button that you can click so that you can subscribe. So over the course of the next 2 weeks or so, every single day, we'll send you another audio, a video, a tapping script, some instruction to help you to improve your tapping so that you can eliminate self-sabotage and take the action that you want. This idea of thinking about and tapping for being okay, being proud has come up over the course of the last number of months with many of my clients. I do a lot of work with small business owners, and many of the small business owners are service providers, meaning that they're providing a direct service. They're not making something, but they're providing coaching or counseling, or they are therapists or massage therapists or all sorts of things. And because of that, in a lot of ways, they are selling themselves. They're selling their experience. They're selling their expertise. They're selling their ability to work one-on-one with someone in a way that provides useful transformation for them. And being in that situation, it can be hard to put yourself out there and say that you are good. And it's not because we don't believe that we are good. And sometimes that's the case. Sometimes we underestimate our own expertise. And that's a different topic altogether. And we've tapped on that before, and we will tap on that again in the podcast. But in this case, the problem is, or the reality is, I don't even know if it's necessarily a problem, but the reality is there's a very specific definition of the way that we approach work, particularly in the Western world, particularly in the United States, where I'm recording this from and many of my clients are from. And the idea is that hard work is something that is valued. You know, we want to put in a hard day's work and we want to work really hard through these things. And there's also this idea that we shouldn't be drawing attention to ourselves, that we should be working hard and just have our head down and get through it. And that's just the appropriate way to navigate. And I can appreciate the root of wanting to have that disposition, because there was a time, particularly in a more industrial time, where hard work, physical hard work, was equated with success, because that was the nature of the work that was available for most people. And so therefore they had to work hard in order to move forward. And so culturally we instilled this idea of hard work. Today we live in a time in which hard work is not necessarily equated with success. And I'm not saying it isn't equated with success, but we can have success lots of other ways, that we can use our experience, our expertise, our knowledge, and be really helpful and transformational for someone without having to put in lots of hard effort in the moment to do it. And because that's the case, we don't feel like we can claim it as valuable because we didn't work hard. And so because of that, we get this sense of we are not supposed to be proud of the things that we are doing, because being proud is the sign of not appreciating hard work and making it about you and not making it about success. But being proud in your accomplishments and being proud in your effort and being proud in how far you've come is something that is really important, because when we are proud, we are in a circumstance where we are able to move forward. And when we are proud of what we do, we're more likely to talk about it and share it so that someone else can leverage it. And I think of two different analogies when I think of this. The first is the idea of, I think of crabs in a bucket. And the phrase crabs in a bucket is a New Orleans, Louisiana phrase and disposition. And the idea is that if you put a bunch of crabs in a bucket, what happens is as they try and escape, the other crabs also are trying to escape. And the way that they're going to try and escape is they're going to pull down the other crabs around them in order to get ahead. And the problem is that no one actually ever gets out of the bucket because everybody else is constantly pulling them down. So they're battling two things. They're battling the bucket, which they're trying to get out of, and they are battling each other because everybody's trying to get ahead. I was originally introduced to this idea, even though it is a Louisiana type idea, from a Canadian musician and rapper named Chaos, K-O-S, K-O-S. And I'll include a link to the fun song in the show notes. But this idea of how hard it can be when we're trying to get ahead and do our thing, when it feels like everybody else is being boastful and prideful and trying to pull us down. The second image that I like to think about, which I think is much more apt and a healthier way to think of us when we're being proud of the work that we do, is I think of ants and I think of termites. And there are ants and termites that are in a situation where they are trying to accomplish something and they need to get across a span, a chasm, like over a little valley that's been created by a creek or a water rush or from one tree to another. And what they do is they literally create a bridge out of their bodies where they walk out to the end of this structure. And when they run out of space, they just become part of the bridge. And so ultimately what you end up having is you have this bridge of ants, which is providing a way for other ants to walk from one side to the other so they can get to the food or whatever they're trying to do. And every single ant is just doing their job. But for me, it's not I'm being humble and I'm being part of the bridge. It's I can do this thing and I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to let others know I'm doing this thing in order for them to be successful as well. And when we are proud of what we do, one, it creates this amazing motivation to keep putting effort in and to keep moving forward. And two, when we're proud in what we do, we become a model for others that they can also be successful. We demonstrate we have competency and skill because we are stating what we are proud in, that others might reach out and be helpful. And so by not claiming our success, by not being proud of our success, we're actually doing ourselves a disservice by eliminating motivation and eliminating recognition for what we've done. And we're depriving those around us of being able to see that as a model and to leverage that. Now, there are going to be times where when we state clearly that we are proud of something, that people are going to be bent out of shape by that. Not everybody's going to take kindly to it. And when that happens, most of the time, it has less to do with what they think of us and us stating something proudly, and it has more to do with their own insecurity. And so we can't let other people's emotional state dictate where we are. We don't want to be thoughtful. We want to be careful, but also recognizing just because someone responds negatively to a statement that we're making about our experience, being proud of it, doesn't mean that they are actually right or true. So we're going to do some tapping on this right now. So what I want you to do is I want you to think about something that you would like to be proud in. And you'll notice that I said would like to be, because maybe you are proud and you're not proud as you'd like to be, or maybe you just have a vague sense of being what proud would be like and you haven't gotten yourself there yet. So do this for me. Tap on the side of the hand, take a nice big deep breath. And just move from tapping point to tapping point, repeating after me. I recognize the fact that I do things well. I recognize the fact that sometimes I put in lots of effort. I recognize the fact that sometimes I come up with creative solutions. I recognize the fact that there are times where I fully engage in the work that I am doing. There's a part of me that wants to be proud of that. There's a part of me that wants to recognize my effort. There's a part of me that wants to recognize my expertise. There's a part of me that wants to recognize my experience. There's another part of me that thinks being proud is bad. Being proud is selfish. Being proud is saying I am better than others. Being proud means I am stealing others' attention. I understand why I might feel that. Culturally, we appreciate hard work. culturally we put emphasis on humility. And because that is the cultural disposition, we have spent our whole lives being told that being proud is wrong. We have been told that being proud is selfish. We are being told being proud is self-indulgent. But that's not the case. Being proud in my effort is good. It helps me to be motivated. It helps me to keep taking action. It allows me to be a model to others as they can see what is also possible. It allows me to demonstrate what I'm good at so that others can ask me for help in the future. I give myself permission to be proud in my effort. I give myself permission to be proud of my accomplishments. Being proud is a human experience that is natural for me to have. I can be proud in my effort without being a jerk. I can be proud of my accomplishments without being an egomaniac. I can be proud of myself and still be a good person. There are things I should be proud of, and I give myself permission to experience that pride. Nice deep breath. There's so many things that you are good at, and I want you to be able to feel into that so that you're able to embrace it, so you're able to recognize what you do, who you are, how you be, so that you can be that more in the world. I understand why we don't like feeling pride. I understand culturally why we're beaten down. And so go back to this again and again. Put yourself in a position to be able to really embrace the success that you've had and the effort that you've gone through. It wasn't my intention, but it's kind of ironic that on the 11th anniversary of the podcast, we're talking about pride. And I am so proud of this. I love the fact that I have invested time and effort over this in 11 years, and I know the impact that it's made. And that hasn't stopped me from trying to make the show better, and that hasn't prevented me from making sure that the quality of the show is still really good and trying to strive to make better, that both of those things exist simultaneously. And I want you to have that same sense in your life and what you do. If you know someone in your life who could use a little boost in this particular way, please be our ambassador, pass it along. Don't spam your inbox. Don't send it to everybody in the world, but you might know someone who could use something like this. If they don't know how to podcast, teach them how to podcast. If you haven't done so yet, I'd also encourage you to subscribe to the podcast. Subscribe in podcasting parlance is free. It's not like Stitcher, or it's not like Netflix or Hulu or Disney Plus. The subscription is free. And everywhere you find audio, you can find the podcast. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Deezer, Luminary, Himalaya, Castro, Overcast. If you listen to audio, you can find the show there. Sometimes they use the word subscribe. Sometimes they use the word follow. Whatever the action is, take it so that when new episodes come out, you don't miss them. That we're continuing to create quality, and there's no plan for us ending anytime soon. Maybe 11 years from now, we're going to be celebrating our 22nd anniversary as well. If you have questions or comments, please reach out. I can always be reached, Gene, Gene, at tappingqa.com. If you're on the website, just click on that contact link. It's super easy to get a hold of me. You can send me a voice memo from the website. You can send me an email from the website. I love hearing from people just like you. For the Tapping Q&A podcast, this is Gene Montrestelli. Thanks for spending a little time with me today, and I will talk to you real soon. Bye-bye. The Tapping Q&A podcast is copyright Gene Montrestelli Tapping Q&A. All views expressed by guests are those of the guests and not necessarily of Gene Montrestelli and Tapping Q&A.